this lockdown would, well, it's open up here in Saudi. We've gone back fully. I don't know how it is in Qatar.
No, we've not yet gone back. We are still off this one.
I know here they've sent everybody back. They've sent everybody back because the economy is adversely affected.
It's really economic, really.
Yeah. So they don't want to. Is now up to individuals to protect themselves.
So
if you, yeah, if you have to be careful to make sure that you take precautions as much as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are having more and more attendees.
I can see more and more people coming.
I guess we may have to start in the next 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay. So
yes,
how long do we have?
We will be ourselves. Yeah. I guess you have one hour to make the presentation.
Yeah, it will probably be. But I wanted to say,
and thereafter we have.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is this kind of things. You say 12:45, so it gives people the time to come in rather than 1 o'clock, because it's 1 o'clock, then people start coming in between 1 and 1:15. So that's what we discovered, that when you say 1, it's better to say 12.
So that's the time of 1 o'clock. People will always come at the time they like.
Okay, yes. I think I should.
I think you can actually start. Yes. If you say 1 o'clock, now it's 5 minutes past 1, and we have 11.
No. Really, I think I would be wrong to say we are starting 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock will allow 15 minutes for people to come in.
Okay.
We'll allow 15 minutes for people to come in.
I think Nuruddin, when we fix,
yes, sir.
When we fix time, we should stick to it no matter what.
Hey, but even in RICS, you remember, despite the fact that the time is fixed, we still allow time for people to come in. We have about 15 minutes for that before the program proper will start. So it is not.
Well, that is
not specific.
Yeah, but that is RICS.
So I mean that, and that is exactly
actually that's the general norm. That's
the practice.
In other part of the country, yeah. You allow a plus or minus, just like an estimate, yeah, plus minus,
yes,
5% on both sides. You know, so that yeah, some people don't intentionally want to come late.
We have actually had 20% on board, because we are expecting like 60 attendees. We already have about 20% on board.
Okay.
59 have registered 59 have registered for the program, for the webinar. And we already have 12 here.
Coming in.
Yeah. 60.
So you have many people.
Somebody just registered now, making 60.
Okay. How many people have we got online now?
We've got 13 of them on now.
Okay, we're going to start with a video anyway, which is about a 3-minute video, 3-4-minute video, and it talks about the types of disputes and claims, which are very common. As we know, today's topic is titled "The Common Causes of Disputes and Suspension Claims." So the key thing is that, as we'll see in the outline later, that this is a peculiar thing across the world. So it's not just for the Middle East, but the Middle East is just a bit more than the other parts of the world. So we will start with the video. If you want me to start, or do you want us to wait to 10 past 1 and we'll start?
Like I said, 15 past 1.
15.
15 past
okay,
1.
That's fine. Yes. All right, that's okay. So what else has been happening then? RICS, what's happening with RICS in Qatar?
RICS has decided now to adopt this online assessment because of the success of the last assessment exercise, the APC exercise.
Yeah.
So that's the COVID-19 exercise.
Yeah.
So it's part of the new realities that the world has to grapple with. Yeah, so we are evolving in new culture.
a new culture, and it's worked out in a lot of ways favorably. I mean, we wanted to open some accounts even back in Nigeria, and it was so easy to do it online. They will not even look at us if they just said send everything, scan it and send it, and we were able to open a few things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's very interesting. They will not listen to us if it wasn't the COVID.
Yes. Maybe I should take advantage also.
And again, the mode of presentation and the RICS, APC is cost effective now.
Yeah.
You don't have any hotel.
It's cost effective. Yeah. Yes. But I must say, we had the first assessment I've ever done in my life where I had to stop. I had to stop the presentation completely because the guy had a very bad internet. He was doing his presentation. I said, "Look, please just stop." And we had to rearrange and set it up again. And all the guys I did this year were referred. All of them were referred.
I thought it was. I thought it was that time you were in Sudan with Shola Agubiade. I thought that was the one you were talking about.
No.
Okay.
No. This time. I've never done an online assessment before. This is the first.
I'm not talking of assessment. Okay, I thought of probably mentorship.
Oh yeah. Then we did that. That was on Skype in those days.
But when you were in Sudan that time.
Yeah, when I was in Sudan, yes.
Exactly.
I was in Sudan actually just about a few months ago. I went for a wedding.
Oh, beautiful.
For one of my former, so it was good to catch up again after about 3 years I left.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
So you were able to see the White Nile?
The White and the Blue Nile, yes.
Yeah.
where they meet, it's an amazing miracle.
Exactly.
It's something people need to see. Unless you see it, you won't believe it. And they don't go into each other.
Really?
It's a great. Yes, they don't go into each other. It's just like they meet and they stay there. So this one goes in their way, this one goes in their way.
Wow,
it's
beautiful.
It's a wonder of the world. It's a wonder of the world.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's great. I hope everybody's been no terminations, no big issues in terms of your jobs in Qatar.
By the way, let me just talk to the attendees that have already come in, so that they will know that we are aware of their presence and that we have a strategy. Good afternoon, everybody. Those of our attendees that are in attendance already, just for you to be aware, we are allowing a 15-minute window for as many people as possible to join. In the process, we are at least trying to socialize in the beginning of the program, so that those of us that have not met each other for a long time will have an opportunity to exchange ideas as we await other attendees to join. So thank you very much. Okay, we can go ahead. So in the next 3 minutes, in the next 3 minutes, that is 1:15, we should be starting the program in earnest. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah.
Can we ask people to mute their phones? I'm hearing some kids in the background.
Please, if you are not speaking and you are not on headphone, turn off your microphone. It's like my intervention has made it necessary for people to keep quiet. I didn't say we should keep quiet.
I can see Mr. President has just come on.
Yeah.
Mr. President, why are you late?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, shall we? Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start now with a video. As I said, it's on the types of construction claims and the.
I know. Sorry, let me interrupt you a little
around
bit.
the
You know,
world. It's
today
just
is a very tight day for me. I'm just finishing with one meeting. You know, I have one of my monthly meetings today. It's a very big task for me. I'm just coming. I'm rushing to just join. Sorry for keeping you guys waiting.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I suppose your guys will find you later.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to start.
Okay.
Let's start with the video.
Well, yeah, we'll be starting now. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Once again, you are welcome to this edition of our webinar titled Common Causes of Disputes and Suspension Claims in the GCC Countries. We are aware as project management practitioners, and particularly as generally as construction experts and those ones that deal with claims, that we are needed in the first place because of contractual matters such as claims that do occur. We are needed to manage, to foresee incidences of claims, to manage contractual claims such that if it is possible to avoid them, we avoid them. If we will have to accept them, in what ways are we going to accept them? The construction industry is such an industry that is somewhat claim conscious. For that reason, and of course, the industry practitioners have been finding ways to reduce the, to reduce the adversarial nature of the industry. That's the that this what's it called, claims consciousness brings about, and there have been discussions. So one of those discussions is what we are going to have today. That's going to be presented by Mr. Dele Oyekomi. He's a fellow of the RICS and is also what's it called, an MBA holder. So we will. I'll be handing over to him for him to continue to take us through this topic as we navigate the discussion today. Mr. Dele.
Okay, thank you very much. It's nice to be with all of you again. It's been a while since I've seen some of you, but although we are not in the same country, but at least we know that we're always together, whether on the forum or through initiatives like this. I want to say a big thank you for your invitation that you gave me early this year to come. Apparently, I was supposed to be with you physically in March on my way to Rwanda to spend some time with you in Qatar, but all of a sudden this COVID came in and no one was able to go anywhere. So it is still my desire to, as you know, I'm a citizen of Qatar. It doesn't matter how long I've been away. I always like coming back to the country, and I think for me it's because Qatar has always played a major role in my life since 2008 that I've been in and out of the country. So hopefully you should see me by the end of the year when things kind of settle down. Without much ado, we want to start off with a short video, which is about three and a half minutes. And it's on the screen at the moment. It's called Types of Claims and Disputes in Construction. I just want to use this as a kind of a teaser before we actually go into the webinar itself or the actual slides. And if you have any questions, I don't know how you normally do it, if you stop me during the middle of the presentation or if you wait to the end. Preferably, I would like to say wait to the end and maybe send your questions to the moderator, and then we can have a dialogue at the end if that is if that is acceptable. So we'll start off with this video. Sorry, can everyone see the video? Hello?
Can everyone see the video?
For me, no, I can't see the video.
You need to
okay.
you need to present it. Click on the window and present it. Make it full screen and
with the presentation. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I did, but now okay, let me go back to the screen again. It says stop sharing.
Don't stop sharing. You have to share.
Okay. Present now.
Yes.
click on that window, the window with the video, and share it.
No, still not. Sorry. Actually, this is what we should have done in our share your entire screen.
Yes.
Cancel that one. Can you see it now?
It's coming on.
Okay, it means that, can you see types of claims and disputes?
We can see the two windows. Now you need to click. There are two windows: the PDF document and the video. You need to open up the video window itself.
Yeah. Which I have.
Yeah, play it and make it full screen.
If you want, I can present it on your behalf.
Hello, Mr. Daly.
You can't see it?
No, but Nuruddin is proposing to present it on your behalf, if it's possible, from his own end.
Okay. This is what I'm saying now.
But I think you are sharing. What you are sharing now is not this. Go back to that file. Go back to the file you want to share on your screen. First, go back. Go to the file you want to share your screen.
Yeah, this is it.
So left, and then say you want to.
This file here.
Start presenting again. Good. Okay, so this one, right? This second one.
Yeah, the second one.
Okay, I guess you'll have to click on it first. Click on it.
Can you see it now?
Has it come to your screen? Because we cannot see it. We only see them as files. Two files.
Okay, let me stop. All right, we'll look at let me send this to you and you can just send it from there.
Okay, you can send to me privately.
So this is the issue when you're using some different, what's it called? Okay. Okay, in the meantime, let's go to, we can look at the video, watch the video later. Do you want to share the, have you got the slides with you, or do you want me to share from here again? I sent them to, I sent them to Prince Will.
Okay. So Prince Will, you can share with Jibril. Let him present. Prince Will?
But the only thing is just the control of it.
Jibril already has it.
Okay, so Jibril will present it.
Oh, okay. Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
Okay, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you'll have to stop presenting anyway so that Jibril will present.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, Jibril is
coming.
presenting.
It's coming on.
Okay. But I'm just thinking of the control of the slides.
He can continue.
Of the sheet.
You just tell him to go to the next slide, and he will. And of course, you can use the one on your screen also.
Okay, so are we ready? Can you see it? Can you guys see the screen from your end? The slides
Not
from your
yet.
End?
No.
Okay. Shall I try again if I can see from my end?
So can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Okay.
It's still, you use the same present button to present this. I think it works better if you do the presentation. So you need to share a window. So open the document, open the video on two different tabs, and then you share. You pick which screen you want to share, and you can control it from your side.
Which I've done now.
Yeah.
Which I've done. Can you see it now?
Okay, so I will stop sharing because I think at this point, yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, so you can see me moving now.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so that's better if it is from my end.
The same applies
Okay,
to the same process for the video also.
Yeah, okay. We'll look at the video after the or I can send the video to you depending on the time we have. So once again, yes, welcome to those that have just joined us. Today we're going to talk about common causes of disputes and suspension claims in GCC countries. It's peculiar to the GCC countries because this study has been done by a claims consultant, popular claims consultant in the GCC here called HKA. HKA used to be part of HEAL International, for those of us that know HEAL. He was quite, and is still around in the Middle East. However, the claims section has now set up a separate entity, and they've joined a company called HKA. And HKA have done this research about why there are causes of disputes and suspension claims in GCC countries. There are some instances that are peculiar to Saudi Arabia, but most of them are common to all of the GCC countries, which in a way is a shame, but that's how it goes. So anyway, that's me. You know who I am. So we start with the delay trends. There was a report by EY in 2014. And the reason for this the report was, or this research was due to the fact that many clients wanted to know what was the reason why in the GCC we're having mega projects that are always overrun in terms of cost, in terms of schedule. What is the reason for this? And apart from the cost overruns, there's always a dispute. I mean, lots of us have had a lot of experience here in the Middle East, and we can always tell without a shadow of doubt that the start of the project is always a honeymoon. If it's a 7-year project, 5-year project, give it 2 years, things start going wrong. There's a delay, somebody didn't sign something off, someone didn't know there was something that they should have told somebody, and then the disputes start. Funny enough, a major cause of these disputes are human issues. Apart from the technical aspects of delays, most of the delays we have in the Middle East are due to human errors or human behaviors. And we're going to see that later on. This study of 2014 revealed that the majority of the projects were delayed or faced cost overruns when measured against estimates during the initial stages of the project life cycle. Again, we've seen that from experience, particularly for those of us that have used FIDIC 1999, a lot of clients don't understand the way contracts are run. They're always in a hurry. They don't want to finish the design. It's well known that a lot of projects have started from schematic design. There's no detailed design. Forget IFC and forget going, having a design in place before tenders are sent out. And as a result of that, you have half-baked tenders that come back with contractors giving all sorts of assurances that this will be done, and the client being very happy. They sign these contracts only to get into a year or two to start finding problems. So in the Middle East, 87% of the projects face a schedule delays compared to a global average of 73%. And this is particularly a spotlight that's been looked at with mega projects in the Middle East. We can say that one of the countries that maybe is a bit, there's exempt from this in a way, is the UAE. The UAE, as we know, has a very low tolerance for disputes and delays. However, they still happen. But in the other countries, the other 5 GCC countries, and especially in Saudi Arabia, where I'm here, it's well known that projects go on for average for about 5-10 years more than the estimated time for completion. A good example is the project I'm working on, CAF, which is the King Abdullah Financial District, which started, I think, in 2011. We're now into 2020, and they just restarted again last year after a delay of 5 years of doing nothing. They've just done the surveys, and it's going to cost them like double to finish this complex of 55 towers. So the delays are always due to human errors and a lot of issues that we're gonna see as we move on. So what are the common reasons for disputes? And more interestingly, what can be done to prevent them? If we can answer this question, we can manage troubled projects, prevention as a cure. Part of, and for those of us that are assessors, and apart from being an assessor, we know as quantity surveyors, contract managers, etc., that the best way to prevent a dispute is for it not to happen at all. And that means that part of our role as quantity surveyors, contract managers, and construction professionals is to ensure that we avoid disputes. And that's why we now have even professions and as contracts avoidance experts. And this is a set of people who have a lot of diplomatic skills apart from their technical skills, but actually are very, very good in how to avoid disputes. I mean, we have them amongst our friends, our spouses. You know how to prevent a dispute with your wife or your friend. So those are the skills that we also need to bring into into the industry as much as possible. Prevention is a cure, and that's what we need to bring into our day-to-day working here in the Middle East. So integrated research, as I said, was this research was done by a company called Crocs and also HKA. And this integrated research provided an insight into claims and disputes causation on major capital projects worldwide, as we will see. So what was Crocs Insight? Crocs Insight, HKA's claim specialist, along with them Insight Reports, provides a perspective on HKA's investigation into common disputes causation factors. So they looked into 257 commissions which were researched, and these 257 commissions actually added up to a total of $400 billion capital expenditure. So that's a big sum of money. So what did they find? They had 7 major and 7 secondary causes on average of disputes all around the world. This is in line with the global average. Oh, sorry, down to the Middle East now. This is in line with the global average. It's not just a regional issue. The takeaway, causation is more complex than much of the market commentary infers. So in other words, it's not just something that we can point a finger to say, oh, it's because of design information, or it's because of the engineer's slow response to issue an instruction. It's actually a combination of factors. A lot of them are underlying factors, and as we're going to see, a lot of it is behavior. This is the way we do things. A lot of it stems from on culture. We all know that culture has a lot to do with the way we do things, and that is the way the culture has a lot of impact in the way contracts are awarded in the Middle East and how they are executed and how they are run. So they found that there are 13 underlying causes on average per dispute. So for one dispute, there are 13 underlying causes. So it's not just one cause that always causes a dispute. There are a number of those underlying causes that run up and add up to a dispute per contract. So let's look at some of these Crocs causation ranking that they found across the world. As I said, altogether, they have 3,043. Out of these 3,043, they've actually grouped them into primary and secondary. And then I'll just mention the top ones highlighted in, if we can say orange, and as they go down, they kind of decrease in terms of the percentage of the cases they found. You'll get a copy of the presentation so you can look at the others in your own time. But to start off with, the slow progress is key number one, cause of delays and disputes for in the Middle East. The second one is variations. The third one is extension of time. The fourth one is late availability of information design. The fourth one, change of scope. And the fifth one is managing time. And I'll leave all the other ones to you as we go along. Now, under these major causation types, we're going to see what are the underlying factors. And I suggest in your own time, maybe you want to go and do your own research, and from your own project and from your own experience, look at what are the underlying factors in your project, for instance. A good example for me here in Saudi is, and what I'm sure it's from the projects I worked on in Qatar and Sudan also, is somebody doesn't like somebody. Somebody said something and they make that a big issue on a project, and it just slows the project down. Just playing politics on a project for no necessary reason, forgetting the big picture, forgetting that the millions of dollars are involved here. Because somebody said something, or some family member said something to another family member that has been going on for donkey years, actually comes onto a project. It's amazing of what factors cause delays to projects. And they're very petty, very trivial, but they build up to big issues. So under this ranking, as I said, Crux causation ranking, we've got under the primary 81, secondary 55, that adds up to 136. The variations, as we said, was 107 types they found for causes of disputes. Secondary 29, extensions of time 115, secondary 18, late availability of information 89 and 37, change of scope and managing of time. So let's see the primary causes of construction delay. A closer examination of the data reveals the following main reasons for delay. So under these main headings that we've mentioned, the main factors or the main reasons for these delays from the research they found is change, ambiguity in contract or design documentation, quality of design, and poor communication and coordination of information. So we all know that, and I'm sure we've all experienced this in our various projects over the years, change. Unfortunately, a lot of clients don't understand what it means to make a change. A good example is on a remeasurable contract, or even on a lump sum contract, for instance. Once you've signed a contract with your contractor, you've signed a lump sum contract and said this contract is going to be for, let's say, 200 million reals. That contractor has the complete risk for that contract, especially if it's under, let's say, FIDIC 1999 or design and build. That risk is passed on to the contractor. So you don't interfere in what the contractor does. If you do, you're going to constitutes the change. And a lot of clients, from my experience, and I'm sure with yours, just think that they can come along and just say, oh, I don't like that window. Or did we put in timber? Oh, no, we don't want timber anymore. We want PVC. And you just have to swallow that cost. What the contractor would do is say, okay, yes, Mr. Client, thank you very much. I'm omitting your timber windows. I'm adding back your PVC windows that you desired. And by the way, it's not just a omission and addition. It's going to cost you a bit more because now it's more money to put in a PVC than timber. And not only that, I had factored in a certain amount of money and resources to set up or to install a timber window. To install a PVC window is going to take me more time. Oh, Mr. Client, I must tell you that I did pre-order my timber windows from Italy. For you to get your PVC windows from China is now going to cost you more money, and it's going to cost me more money to get that in to Qatar. And this is where the disputes start, because a lot of clients don't understand what it constitutes or what it means to make a change. They just think, I'll make a change, you swallow it. It doesn't work like that. Another reason is the ambiguity in contract or design documentation. Our specifications are not clear. The contractor thinks that he has a BOQ. He doesn't read the specification that goes along with it. The drawings do not correspond to what the specification says, and so on and so forth. We all have this information or this experience. Quality of design, poor communication or coordination of information. Now, this is as we know here, the keeping records in the Middle East sending information and communication at the right time is very poor. The protocol of communication in the Middle East is just too poor. A lot of people can't speak English very well. They don't know how to communicate proper records. They don't put things in the right file. People hide information on their own laptops, on their own computers. They don't put it on the shared drive. And as a result of this, this causes disputes amongst the various contracts we have. So the contract as a risk distribution mechanism. So I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I was saying that, and as we know, that the three main factors for us as quantity surveyors, commercial guys, and contracts also is quality, cost, and time. These three factors constrain every project. You can control two and only two. You can't control three at the same time. And why is that? If, for instance, a client says, "Oh, my key issues on this project, my key objectives to complete this project are cost and time," he's left out quality. Okay, you're going to get your project on time. It's going to cost you more money, but the quality will be compromised, and that happens wherever you are throughout the world. If it's on quality, oh, I want this building to be of high quality, then they forget that you're going to pay more money and it's going to take you more time to get in that particular material. For instance, if it's coming from Italy or America or wherever around the world, it takes you more time to get in that particular product or material. So the risk drivers for the two parties to a major capital project are often directly conflicting. Thus, a contract is an attempt to distribute the risk and clearly identifies who owns what risk. In the diagram on the right-hand side, if you reduce the time of the project, then the cost will go up and the quality will go down, just like I've just said. If you increase the quality, then the cost and time are likely to increase. In any event, it is likely that only two of these three can be controlled at the same time. And I'm sure a lot of us will have had this experience throughout our tenure in the Middle East or anywhere we've been around the world. The contract, therefore, is a balancing mechanism between the three. And if the contract is unbalanced, then there will be impacts between the three factors. And this is where disputes start to arise. So let's look under contract, for instance. Under contract, the different types of disputes that can arise as a result of just having a contract in place. So first of all, we have different interpretations of the contract provisions. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life where people come up with different types of interpretations. Oh, this means this. Okay, what does it say in the FIDIC? Original, in the general conditions of contract. Oh yes, but we actually have our own bespoke conditions of contract, our general conditions of contract. And I don't know if most of us were aware that FIDIC had to come out, I think last year, with a paper to actually say that, look, guys, if people are going to start using FIDIC as a basis to develop their own bespoke contracts, please note that we are not liable for this. It's got to that stage because people are now just going, clients are just going, oh, I don't like that, take that clause out. And the contractor saying, well, I think this is going to favor me, so I put this clause in. And these are one of the bases of disputes because people start making different interpretations of the contract provisions as they like. And we can see the percentage of that to the right-hand side. Contract administration is one of the key ones after the different interpretations. Ambiguities in contract documents, risk allocation, and other. Again, from my experience, a lot of clients don't understand that risk workshops, identification of risk is very important at the start of the project. It's just seen as, another kind of assignment put in a corner. If I want you, Mr. Risk Manager, I'll call you. No, the risk manager is supposed to have an overall role right from the beginning of the project, so that he can contribute and give the client the advice, and not only the client, but also the contractor and all stakeholders to the project, who owns risk, what needs to be done, at what point of time, and how they can eliminate risk as they go along in the project. As we know, risk cannot be completely eliminated. It can be managed, but you can't take it away completely 100%. So it's very important that this is understood. Under design, what are the factors that cause disputes on a contract under design? Well, they grouped it on again in primary, secondary, and they've got these underlying factors. The first one is late availability of information and design. Well, wow. If anybody doesn't know that in the Middle East, then we've not been in the Middle East. That's what I call the Middle East experience. Everything is late in the Middle East. Nobody provides you information on time, and when they do, it's wrong. Somebody's missed something out, and no one wants to take responsibility for anything. So really, these are the major underlying factors for design under this major group: late availability of information design, design errors and buildability, quality of design, inadequacies, incomplete, ambiguous drawings and specifications, just as I mentioned earlier. Copy and paste specifications, and no one actually reviews this. I was doing a review of a RFP the other day on the project I'm working on, and basically this project manager had just copied and pasted from another RFP to this RFP, and they had no relationship at all, and they wanted to go out to tender on this. So some contractors also will just keep quiet. They won't say anything until they start the contract, they sign, and they come up with all these issues. Oh, why didn't you say this? Oh, that's not what I meant. Oh, and they start looking at the pages and begin to see that this is a contract that relates to a facade, but you've got a contract that has been written up for a road design or something. And so the ambiguity of design and drawings and specifications is quite common in the Middle East. Behavior. Now, this is a very big one. Behavior is one of the main causes of disputes on contracts, as I said earlier on, due to culture. This is the way we do things. So I'm from Nigeria. This is the way Nigerians do things. From India, from Lebanon, and all around the world. And as we know, the key thing with us in the Middle East is that majority of those that work in the Middle East and for clients are expats. So they've come from all different cultures from around the world. And we all have different norms and different ways of doing things. And we bring this with us. So yes, we may have our qualifications. We may be chartered quantity surveyors. We may have graduated from Harvard in America, from whatever university we graduated from in Nigeria or from Africa or India. But when we come, we don't just come with, this is delay. I come with my culture. So I come with British culture and I come with Nigerian culture to that job, because this is the way we do things. And as a result of that, I can conflict and get in conflict with someone else who believes that, no, this is not the way to do things. So we tend to run our contracts based on cultural differences. And this is a very big issue here in the Middle East in terms of disputes. A lack of communication. Again, this stems from culture. Oh, he didn't say good morning to me. Oh, he doesn't know, how to communicate properly. Or he said he said something to me the other day that I felt was offensive. And that's offensive in your culture, but probably in his own culture, it's not offensive. I remember when I was in Sudan, and one of my team members was calling our senior project manager by his surname. It happens to be that the name of this senior project manager was Anthony Martin. So his first name was Anthony, his surname was Martin. So every time the Sudanese would call him Martin. And I call them and say, no, you can't call him Martin. You have to call him Mr. Martin, or you call him Anthony. But you can't call him Martin because in the British culture, it's very rude to call someone by their surname. So, and I said, there are two things around this. One is older than you. And secondly, he's your manager. So you can't call him by his surname like that. You have to say Mr. Martin or Anthony, but you can't say Martin. But they won't listen. Every time they call, every time they say, Martin, come here. And he used to correct them all the time. But again, these are the areas in which, you know, we all have differences of culture, which we bring into the way we do things. Lack of communication. As I said earlier on, I had an incident last year where one of my team members saved an important document on his personal laptop and went off to the Philippines and was sat there for about 4 weeks. And we were stuck, and he was directing me to go to this person and that person to take his laptop. And I was like, you should have saved this file onto the shared drive. Why did you save this onto your personal laptop? People take their personal or work files and save them in their on their personal laptops as if it's their own personal property. And these things can cause disputes. Quality of leadership is also a big one. How do we perceive our leaders? Do we have good leaders? And how do they communicate with the team? Information overload. Sometimes we're just overloaded with information. We just put files in the wrong place. We don't put the right headings. I'm always having this issue with my team members. When you send an email, put the name of the project on the email, the title, the contract number. Don't just send an email that has no root or source of information, because when I'm looking for a file, I can't find it if you just don't put the right subject and title on the email. Overconfidence and poor morale. Okay, so what is the way forward with all what we've said? So we said, okay, there's disputes on projects. We know that we cannot get away from it. It will happen. It will continually happen. But there's, as I said, although we cannot get rid of risk, we can reduce risk as much as possible. And then you and I can reduce that by using what we call now emotional intelligence. A lot of clients and employers now are looking for quantity surveyors, commercial managers, contract managers, and so on and so forth, who have emotional intelligence. It's not just about, I have the skills, I'm a chartered surveyor. Do you know how to communicate? Do you know how to negotiate properly? Do you know how to avoid disputes on site? This is what clients are looking for now, because they know that these things are always there and they need personnel who can deal with these things. So a big way forward for us, I must say, is if we don't have those skills, then maybe we all need to start learning them as much as possible. How can we avoid these matters of dispute on site? As I say to my team members, when you see something that is wrong, shout, talk, let me know. We don't know everything, so don't just keep quiet. Bring this to the attention of your project manager or team leader, whoever's leading a project. Let them know as early as possible. There is something wrong here. I sense something wrong. Let the planners know. Let the project controls know. We all work hand in hand, and we need to be able to bring this to the attention of one another. So the way forward, information liquidity and on-demand access to project data reduces the likelihood or need for global claims. As I said, we all need to have access to project data. Don't hide information. It's not your personal property. It's not my personal property. We've been employed to do an assignment and a job. We've been brought there to help solve a problem and to produce a deliverable for the client. We don't want to start hindering that project. And so we need to make sure that there's access to project data. If you as a commercial guy, a person, part of a team, make sure that your team leader gives access to the project data you need. Don't don't keep quiet and say, well, that's their own problem. I'll just do what I'm here. I'll just do what I'm here to do. No, if you fail, the project fails. If I fail, it has a global effect on the team. And of course, it can lead to people losing their jobs. So when we're sitting down in our little corner thinking, oh, that's not my business, I'm just going to keep quiet. Please think about the big picture. Think about the effects, the triple effects it's going to have on that project, which can gradually come and bite you or bite the other team members and eventually make people lose their jobs. The ability to better evidence or rebut claims of readily accessible data increases the number of commercial settlements. Once we have better information, which is readily accessible, for instance, I remember when we were doing Barua Commercial Avenue, the contractor, it was a German contractor, came with one big claim that I don't know where he got that number from, 326 million. But again, what helped us to resolve this matter was the fact that we were keeping good records. We had very good team members, and we actually got a contract specialist who was able to help us analyze all the claims on time and have face-to-face meetings and negotiation with the contractors. So we were able to bring down that claim from 326 to about 80 million. So you can see all the butter and milk that they put in this claim that really was not really supposed to be there. But you see, if we don't keep records from day one, if we don't have readily accessible data, then we're going to have issues when it comes to commercial settlements, and disputes will go on to litigation or arbitration if necessary. Data-driven decisions reduce the likelihood of disagreement escalating through formal proceedings. So again, we are quantity surveyors and commercial experts. We should also be making decisions expressly and easily and quickly as possible. I remember also my project in Barua, the engineer was always delaying things. He would just sit on things for days unnecessarily. You know, have to bring it to his attention. Look, you have 14 days to make a decision on variation. You can't, oh, no, I don't like the price they submitted. Then you have to write a letter. You can't just sit on it. You have to do according to what the contract says. You are there to administer the contract. You have to make a decision. And apparently, in the Middle East, if we can really put our hands up, a primary issue for most of our clients and engineers or project managers, they don't want to make decisions. They just don't want to make decisions. And you have to make a decision at some point of time. So what I say to them is you either make the decision now or later, but you will have to make a decision. And that decision can either be beneficial or non-beneficial. So the better you make that decision, the quicker you would avoid a dispute going into an area that nobody can control. Moving forward, we're now having what we call BIM on a lot of projects, which is a very good facility to help clients and those of us working on site to reduce claims and disputes. More structured data, reducing the time and cost of preparing records for analysis, and we spoke about that. Digitalization enables the coordination of numerous data sources into a single medium, improving understanding and presentation of complex issues. As we know now, everything is done online. We can put our information in various places now where we can recall it easily, especially with the use of project management systems, Econex, Bitcom. A lot of clients are using this, not just only for managing the project on a day-to-day basis, but it comes in very handy when it comes to matters of disputes and of claims, etc. Connecting dispute resolvers directly with data removes the burden of information requests, constructability studies, early contractor involvement. On this one, a lot of clients now are understanding the fact that it makes sense especially if you've got a two-stage tender, for instance, to bring in the contractor at an early stage. Some clients prefer to negotiate with the big contractors or contractors they know, they've known in the market for a while, and they will bring in these contractors, have a discussion with them. Right from the early stages, they highlight the key issues, they highlight things that can be bottlenecks to the client. Some clients now are getting in some contractors just to give them advice as risk advisors on the way their project is going to go. They may not appoint that contractor to build the actual project, but they use that as leverage to be able to reduce their risk going forward. Way forward, instead of the straw that broke the camel's back approach, the industry must take a broader view. Improved information, as I said, digitalization is the way forward. And that can result in greater project and organizational control on the part of clients, increase in negotiated settlements and a lower causation average, and fewer instances where the illusion of control is a root cause of conflict. So the more we can digitalize our projects, the more we can keep information, the more we can manage that information, the better we can manage our projects and the less disputes we're going to have on our projects. Okay, moving on to suspension, and we'll come to your questions afterwards. I'm sure some of us have experienced a suspension of projects on site. We have clauses for that in the FIDIC, and or whatever contract you're working on, whether it's NEC, FIDIC, JCT, they all have clauses for suspension. This is to give both parties the opportunity to either revisit the project in one way or the other, or there are many causes of suspension. A good reason for the one I'm working on here in Saudi is because there was a change of rulership, and also the client wanted to do a reassessment of the monies that had been spent on the project. So there's a wide range of concerns when a project is suspended for a period of time before being turned back over to a contractor for completion. This is always seen as a milking the cow dollar lottery for contractors, because this is the time to bring in all their hidden agendas. It's also an opportunity for a lot of them to hide behind the scenes for all their delays, which they probably had before the suspension. So the suspension comes along with a lot of problems. And that's why, as commercial professionals, contractual professionals, whenever a client says, I think I want to suspend my project, we need to really take them down the line of, we need to do a proper assessment of this project, Mr. Client, before you actually give this notice to the contractor. And also, I've had clients come in on one day and say, I want to stop, I want to suspend this project now. I don't have the money to pay, so suspend the project now. As Mr. Client, you cannot suspend the project like that. You have to give the contractor notice to suspend the contract. You can't just wake up overnight and, because something has gone wrong, either because you can't get money from your bank, just decide that you want to suspend the contract. Yes, there is a clause, an allowance for that in the contract, but it has to go through the right way. It has to go through the right way. What does the contract say? FIDIC 1999 in the Red Book, it says consequences of suspension, for instance, if the contractor suffers delay and or incurs costs from complying with the engineer's instruction under clause 8.8. So we're assuming here that the client has given, the engineer on behalf of the client has given an instruction to the contractor to stop work or suspend work due to a number of reasons. What we normally say is that once the client has in mind that he has to suspend his contract for one reason or the other, it's ideal to give the contractor notice. But before he gives the contractor notice, there must be a proper assessment. As we know, most contractors are very elusive when it comes to producing their programs. They don't want to give their up-to-date status of work. Sometimes we don't even know where they are on the critical path. If the contractor does not do this, I normally advise that Mr. Client, make sure that our side, our project control guys, planning guys, do a proper assessment of what we believe the contract, the status of the contract to be as at the time of suspension. Please do not suspend without making that clear cut and clear analysis of where you are to date. The contractor may not agree with it. That's his own cup of tea. If he doesn't agree with it, then he has to bring his own case forward. He can't just be saying, I don't agree with it. He needs to understand that the contract, and he has signed up to this contract, and both parties have agreed to this contract. And it means that if you want to suspend the contract, either from the side of the contractor or the client, both parties have to go along with what the contract says. And the contract says you have to give proper notice if you want to suspend the contract. And before the suspension of that contract, there must be a proper analysis of where the contract is to that date. It's very important that that happens. If some client says, no, I don't want to do it. I'm the client, you just do what you're told. I would advise that somehow this is put in writing and advice to the client. It must be put in writing to the client. Don't take it for granted, because it will come back to haunt you or haunt your company or consultancy. The client will say, well, you didn't give me the advice. You were negligent in your advice to me. I employed you as my consultant. Where is your advice? Oh, I told you, Mr. Client. Oh, where is it? Oh, I told you. Where? An email. An email is not a letter in writing. There's nowhere in the contract where it says this contract will be administered by emails. A contract is administered by letters and writing, and it has to be done that way. The engineer doesn't do it. It needs to be brought to his attention. It needs to be brought to the attention of the stakeholders that if a suspension was to be put in place, it has to be put in writing. It has to go through the right channels. A proper assessment has to be done of all the activities on site and signed off by both parties at that time. For those of us that know Barua Commercial Avenue, it was suspended. I think they call it, if I can remember, Section 7, Building 3 was suspended for about 3-4 years. And this was because they had issues of the fact that they wanted to build a cinema in that building, and they were not allowed to do so due to the Sharia law, etc., etc. Anyway, this went on for a while, and so the client said, okay, suspend that part of the work, continue to build the other part, we'll come back to that. By the time they came back, the client then said, okay, we now need to accelerate. And then we had a claim for acceleration, claim for suspension, claim for disruption, claim for extension of times. I mean, we had like 7 types of claims. And again, when I came onto the project, I came on at final account stage, and my predecessors have not kept any records. I mean, as commercial guys, oh, that's none of my business. The engineer should have done that. And there was the blame culture going on. My advice is, you are paid to do a job. You're a professional. You take control. You take possession of what you're asked to do. Forget about other people's behaviors. It's very important when it comes to things like this, because these are what causes matters to go forward to arbitration and litigation. So in the standard form of contract, for the major KSA developers, I understand that some contract developers here have done their own bespoke suspension clauses in their contracts. And this is one, for instance, that has been extracted in clause 22.1. This is part of their standard form of contract. A company may at any time and it's at its sole discretion, with or without cause, suspend performance of the work or any part thereof by giving contractor prior notice, specifying the work to be suspended and the effective date of such suspension. The contractor shall cease all activity on suspended work on that said effective date of suspension, but shall continue to prosecute any work that has been that has not been suspended. Contractor shall take all actions necessary, or that company direct to maintain the suspended works. Now, in my opinion, this clause seems to be a bit flawed. It's not giving any timing. It says at any time, okay, at any time, but I would have thought a reasonable company, a reasonable client really should be given between 14 to 28 days notice. I think 28 days is the most reasonable time to give a contractor to suspend their work. And therefore, it's very important that as a contract is in progress, if you and I notice that we're hearing things that look like, oh, we need to put this on hold. I mean, the current situation in which we're in is a very good example, COVID-19. Oh, we don't have the money as a result of COVID-19 now. We're going to have to slow down. We're going to have to slow down the progress. Once we start hearing things like this, it is our responsibility to advise the engineer and the client to ensure that, Mr. Client, if you want to go down the route of suspension, please note, this is what the contract says. Don't leave it to the engineer. A lot of engineers I've seen are always, I don't want to say always, but a lot of time are just laid back in these things. They just don't know that they have a responsibility to make. They want to be on the side of the client. An engineer is supposed to be impartial. That is why he's the engineer. He administers the contract. He doesn't show favor to the client. Neither does he show favor to the contractor. I had a situation when I was in Jeddah, working on the Jeddah Tower in 2015, my first time here in Saudi. And the client will come and say to the engineer, oh, the contractor doesn't have enough money to buy anything. Sometimes, most of the time, he doesn't have money to buy gravel. He doesn't have money to pay his subcontractors. And therefore, I want to add 3 million real to this evaluation this month. And the engineer, very nice man, he's in his 60s, he's been in Saudi for about 40 years. He would say to the client, and he said it to the client in front of me many times. He would say, Mr. Client, you're free to do whatever you want. If you like, you can give him 30 million. If you like, you can give him 50 million. Just understand, I am not going to sign off this valuation. I am the engineer. I am not going to sign off. There is no basis for this sign off for this 50 million. If you want to put in 50 million, when I certify my evaluation or IPC, you put that money below the line and you say it is you, Mr. Client, that has approved this. I am not going to do that. I have no jurisdiction and nothing in the contract to tell me that I have to sign off 30 million for somebody who doesn't have enough money to pay subcontractors. And so this is the kind of role that the engineer has to play. He has to be very impartial. And his role, even in suspension, is to advise the client and the contractor on their responsibilities and obligations. And part of it for the client is saying that, look, Mr. Client, if you want to give notice of suspension to the contractor, you've got to follow the book. You can't just wake up overnight and say, I'm going to, suspend this contract because I don't have enough money. You may not have enough money, but that doesn't mean to say that you can go down this route, because the contractor has a right to bring forth a claim and actually sue you for this purpose. So please, it's very important that when we are dealing with clients and contractors, we are consultants and we may not have that role as an engineer, but we do have the responsibility of part of the project team to bring this to the attention of the engineer. Construction records, when it comes to suspension, all of these are very important. I've mentioned the program, which is here, schedule of programs, site inspection records. Again, these are very important. And this is why, as we said, digitalization is very important, because if you have a good management system in place, you will have all these records on it. Aconex, Bitcom, whatever system you're using, minutes of meeting, daily, weekly, and monthly reports, design documents, equipment logs, all of these documents, if we have the right system in place, will be on the system. What I also say, and what I also check for, even with minutes of meeting, they have to be signed off by all parties. Don't put minutes of meetings on the system that is just aligned and signed off by the client. The contractor can easily turn around and say, well, I didn't agree to that. That was your own record of your own thoughts about this meeting. I don't have any input into this. It's very important as we go through the contract that our ears and eyes are open throughout everything we do. Even if you're not the planner, if you're not the program manager, the projects controls manager, just for for information's sake, when they send these minutes, when they send these programs through, just have a look at it. Just make sure that it's not your core responsibility, but you're part of the team. And as I said, look at the big picture. If this project goes wrong and things start going, going in a pear-shaped, it can affect my own job too. So it's a big picture looking at when it comes to disputes of claims and suspension. It's not just, this is my little area, that's not my business. We need to keep our eyes and ears open and bring this to the attention of those who are in place. If a project is suspended, what's the strategy for restarting that project? When I was on Barua Commercial Avenue, it was just about time when they were coming on board again to start part of that section that was put on hold for a while. FIDIC form does not state expressly procedure on restarting. Although what I normally advise is I say, well, if the FIDIC doesn't say it, what does stop you as the client and contractor for having some memorandum of understanding at the beginning of the contract and just, append this to your contract? You can do a memorandum of understanding. Should we, during the course of this contract, decide to go down the route of acceleration or suspension, we would do X, Y, Z to restart this project. Jointly agreed condition survey if possible, agree variations. All these things are key, but from what I've experienced, it's always ideal to have these things in place at the beginning of the project. So yes, we don't want to start a project and stop it. Like I normally say, you don't want to get married to get divorced. When we all got married, we didn't get married to say we're going to get divorced. Yes, some of us have gone down those lines, but that wasn't the original intention. We got married because we wanted to stay married. And it's the same with a contract. When you enter into a contract, you enter into the contract for a particular purpose and for a definite timeline. You don't envisage and you don't want things to go wrong, but things do go wrong. And so what a lot of clients are now coming to terms with is, look, things are going to go wrong. And I think that's the difference between the West and the Middle East and a lot of projects, even in Africa, because we need to understand that something is going to go wrong. Something is going to go wrong. And if we can factor that into our contracts and into agreements before the contract starts, we save ourselves a lot of trouble and heartache. Pricing the works. Again, if we're going to restart the works after suspension, how would that happen? Timing and sequence, agree quantity, basis of pricing, day works. Are we going to use the BOQ that we've already have in place? If we don't have a BOQ, are we going to use day works? If not, are we going to go out now to get document a schedule of rates in order to complete these works? These are all important. This needs to be agreed. Again, as I said, the contractor would try and milk the cow because he would try and recover any losses he's had before the suspension. And even if he didn't have any losses, he's always going to try and make sure that he gets money out of the client as much as possible. Key issues to take into consideration. Inflation, escalation. I mean, just like in Saudi, I don't know if any of you have heard, but recently we were told in middle of May that from next week, our VAT is going up from 5% to 15%. Wow, that's going to have an impact on inflation here in Saudi Arabia. And I'm sure some of the other GCC countries are going to follow that, model very soon. Escalation of prices. We're going to have inflation on material prices here. Commodity prices, we've already beginning to see that here in Saudi Arabia, even before the VAT of 15% kicks in. But on materials, this also is going to have an impact. And when we have suspension, this can happen. So we can't expect, for instance, that if a project is in suspension, let's say now here in Saudi Arabia, if the client says, I'm going to go ahead with my project in August, automatically he's going to have a price increase. He can't expect the prices of June to be the prices of August. Availability and suppliers may have all changed during the suspension period. So it's very important that we understand this. BOQs and the rate prices in them will have to be revisited. Some of those rates will be valuable, will be still usable. Some of them will not be. We may have to go out to get quotations. We may have to do our own further analysis. It's very important. And I've included down there the construction materials, steel prices, for instance, rose by 15% year on year from 2,227 per ton to 2,558 per ton. This is in 2017 to 2018. With COVID now, we don't know what the result of that would be. Maybe these prices will drop, maybe they will not. But definitely, people are going to have to factor in the VAT increase. So material prices from that perspective will go up. Momentum and key personnel cost impact. If there's suspension, any momentum which may have been gained by teams on site for increased familiarity and experience may be lost. We know that people are fluid, people leave. COVID-19 has seen a lot of people having to leave their country. I've been hearing a lot of stories. I mean, here in Saudi, a lot of people on projects that work here who decided to go home cannot come back. I have a colleague now who left his car keys with me and his apartment. We live in the same compound. And he told me, Dilly, please, if they don't let me back in the country, just pack my stuff, send it by cargo, please sell my car. Apart from that, momentum that is gained when a project is going, when a project is in progress, is always lost when there's suspension. So this is something that we always need to tell the client that, Mr. Client, is going to take some time to get the momentum back again, because once you stop a project, the contractor is definitely going to reallocate his resources. He's not going to sit down waiting for you. He's going to use his resources somewhere else. So we may have some time getting back those people may have resigned, people may have got sick. Unfortunately, we may have even lost people to the extent that they may have passed away. The rate and efficiency of work will not be as positive as pre-suspension. So we need to factor that in when we're doing our cost evaluation and remobilization cost. When you ask a contractor, when you ask personnel to come back to site after suspension, it's not free. We also always let the client know this. You sent him away, you're asking him to come back, it's going to cost you something. It's not free. Pricing regulation changes, key issues. Regulatory codes and procedures may have changed during the period of suspension, just like I mentioned earlier on, the VAT has changed here in Saudi. So that may be a change, that may be a case, and we've got that down there. Regulation changes may affect choice and cost of materials, as mentioned above. Availability of foreign source materials is not even the availability of these foreign source materials, but as we see now around the world, with COVID-19 hitting every nook and corner, it's going to cost a lot of money to get goods and materials in now, due to this COVID-19, due to blockades, due to various restrictions in various countries. So this also needs to be factored in now when we're looking at putting our prices together, if you have an issue of suspension on your project. Availability of subcontractors and experts. Preferred subcontractors or experts who were on board previously may no longer be available. Subcontractors that were previously vetted may no longer be appropriate. This is very important. I normally advise my clients that it is advisable to do another PQQ, another pre-qualification of these subcontractors or main contractors if necessary. Let them be vetted again, particularly for their financial status. We shouldn't just say, okay, yes, you were the subcontractor previously, come back. We don't know their financial status. We don't know what problems they're facing. they may come back and just get bossed, and again the project hits another gridlock. So it's very important that when we want to take subcontractors on board after suspension, that we make sure that they're vetted. Digital and technological advances on software, on-site software and firmware may need to be updated before restarting any works. Again, if we have Aconex, if we're using Bitcom, we may need to get in an expert to assess where we were before we stop that project, make sure everything is up to speed, make sure we've got the right systems in place before we restart our project. And as we know, the technology is changing every day. So advances in digital technology may affect any necessary integration with installed equipment or systems. The schedule and prolongation and interface is also very important that we start to look into this. Our project controls, programmers, planners, they need to look at the original project schedule and to complete the project schedule, what was in between, how long was the project suspended for. The original project schedule, of course, will no longer be suitable or realistic. The rebaseline, and they will have to maybe look at the critical path again in terms of what had been done, what was left out. And again, it's important that the contractor is brought on board. We have to have his buy-in. They may not want to come up and be honest with their delays, but the truth about it is it has to be pointed out, and we have to look at what can be done to mitigate the suspended areas of work in order for the client to get his project on time. It's also very important to tell the client when he would actually get his project finished. I'm sure a lot of us have come into contact, and we have experience with project managers and engineers who don't want to tell the client the truth. It's for our own benefit. Yes, we may have a client who will shout at us and say nasty things, but at least he knows. He knows his risk. And if it's a reasonable client, he will go back, he will think about it, he will know you want the best for him, you want his project to finish on time. Reconfirm the scope. Parties should be aligned on what is outstanding scope of the project is and whether any changes are necessary to complete. Again, what we call scope creep. The client agrees a scope, signs that off, and then afterwards when the work start, oh, can you put this in? Oh, we need this in, we need that in. At any point of time, I always say, Mr. Client, it's your project. If you want to change this project and add scope or reduce scope, you're welcome to do so, but it has to go through the right channels. You have to make sure that you're going to pay something if it's necessary. We as the quantity surveyors will assess that and let you know. But it is not just put it in. There's always an implication of issues confirming the scope. Reconfirm design basis and update the schedule. We've looked at that. And well, that's it from me. So generally, as just a recap, causes of disputes in the Middle East stem from a number of reasons, and I hope I've been able to highlight those. Do look at those in your own time. You may come up with other reasons that you believe are not on the list, but I believe from the research that has been done, you've got the major ones, and these major ones you would have come in contact with during the course of your experience in the Middle East. On suspension, as I mentioned, it's very important that the client is aware of the fact that they need to give proper notice to the contractor, and on restarting, the number of things that need to be considered before the contractor actually comes back on site. So thank you very much for listening. Over back to you, Mr. Moderator. Hello?
Hello? I hope
Hello.
I'm
Finished.
sorry, I know. I actually muted myself before.
Okay. Okay. Can you just give me 2 minutes, please, while you are getting together for questions? I just need to call Madam. She's outside and calling me. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Again, we thank Dele for the presentation, for the wonderful presentation.
Hi there. What's up?
We've learned a few things.
We haven't finished. Okay. Hold on. Trying to get 1, 3, 4.
Hello? Mr. Nuruddin, you can keep it going while Dele is on phone.
I'm so sorry. I've been mute all this while. I was speaking. I didn't know nobody was hearing me. So, okay, good. He has come back. So I don't need to attempt the question again. So the question. Yes, Mr. Oyekomi. Are you there now? So unmute yourself, please. Unmute yourself.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Aha. Yes, we can. That in this region, the first question says, in this region, emails are overused in contracts administration. If a contract provides that all communications shall be in writing, what is the position of email in resolving claims?
I sincerely believe it has no basis. The contract is not going to be changed for what we think. But what I say is this simply, you have a system. If you have a system like we were talking about, the A-Connect system or Bitcom system, all these emails should be captured there. That's number one. Number two is, if for instance, like I had this this last week, a discussion with one of our project managers. It's a scheme of about that package is about 100 million SAR. This guy is sending emails to instruct the contractor to do work. We have a change management system. We have a project management plan. So each project really should have a project management plan. And in that project management plan, you should have templates. So any instruction that should be given by the engineer or any one project manager should be using those templates. And what I said to him is that, okay, you sent emails. Now what you need to do is go and collate all those emails, attach to that instruction, and send it to and put it on Aconex. Because when we come to do the audit trail, when the auditors come in, they're not going to go through Dele's email. They're not going to go through Yaya's email. They don't know how many emails Yaya sent for a claim. So the only what they're going to look at is the system, the project management plan, and the system that has been set in place to administer the contract. And so I think it's advisable that, yes, we're overwhelmed with emails. What I do is when those emails come in, I have a box for everything. So every project, every part of my project has its own box. So you just put that email in there. And also, as I said, those emails are captured on our system at Econex here. But an email is not I sincerely don't believe if the contractor said the contract would be administered by writing letters, we cannot substitute that with emails. If emails are written or sent, they can be printed out and attached to that letter, but the emails itself would not constitute a legal presentation in a case. That's what I believe and understand the contract.
Okay, in contributing to that, actually there are some contracts now. I'm on a particular contract where the client specifically specifies in the contract that the preferred form of communication is email. So, and that takes care of that. If one wants to use email communication as official, if you want to view it as official.
Yeah. If it's in the contract, that's fine. But I think out of good practice and best practice, I think it's still ideal, as we call it, old school, to still write letters. If the contract stipulates that this contract will be managed by email, or as an option to letters, they can use email, then I guess if that's what they've agreed, that's fine. But I think it's not the best way to do it, because emails will get lost. People will write things they shouldn't say on emails. When you write a letter, it is more official. I've had an instance on one of my projects here in Saudi where the client told me, I don't want any letters because I don't want to look too contractual. Yes. So
that's
I don't want.
fun.
I don't want to come contractual.
Okay.
So I want
because we have only about. I mean, we are just giving because we started late as a result of the technical glitches we had. We have allowed 20 minutes more, so we have only 10 minutes more, so we need to be snappy about it. And there's a second question from Muhammad Majid. He said, you mentioned sharing information in a share folder. However, there are some information which cannot be shared, maybe as a result of the contract constraints. In that case, how can we share in common share folder?
You can share. All you need to do is get your project controls and they can do this. We've just done this on our SharePoint here in Saudi. So all the commercial guys have access to the budget and cost. All the other team members, project managers, and whatever do not have access to this folder. So the only people that have access to this folder are the commercial guys and the project director, because he must have an overview of the whole project. So it is a project controls matter. They can set up a project, a file to ensure that only certain members have access to that file.
Thank you very much. The next question, Lucky Chooks, is asking if a contractor acted on the contents of a minutes of meeting, can it be taken as a genuine supporting document for a variation of the contract?
Again, it depends on the way the contract is set up. But from my experience here, we've had issues where the contractor said, well, this is the minutes of meeting. I acted on those bases. A prudent engineer would take that minutes of meeting and write an instruction and say further to the minutes of meeting that was issued on so and so, please proceed accordingly. That's why he's administering the contract. He has a responsibility to make sure that these matters are administered properly. So if the contractor has gone ahead and done something on minutes of meeting, but has not been formally agreed by all parties, it's at the contractor's risk. So it has to be instructed officially by the engineer. That's why the engineer is there. He cannot allow these things to happen. He has to ensure that once minutes of meeting are agreed and the contractor is going to do X, Y, Z, he has to issue an instruction to cover that minutes of meeting to say proceed on those bases.
Yes. Thank you very much. And even the contractor himself can put it in writing. That's as
you can also confirm CVR. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
The next question, Yahya Abdul Qadir, on suspension. Some form of contracts permit suspension for 90 days. And if after resumption of works before 90 days, the contract document still subsists in running the contract as against MOU you stated. Can you please comment on that?
Well, it has to be stated. I mean, I think from what I've seen, it's not I think, but it stipulates in FIDIC that the suspension cannot go beyond 89 days. Actually, it says. So if a contract is going to be suspended beyond that, the client must know why he suspended the contract in the first place, and he will know whether or not it's going to go beyond 90 days as a result of the advice he's been given by his consultants. That's why we are there. And we are advising the client, Mr. Client, this is what the contract says. If you're not going to continue with this project, you need to terminate it. Or if you want to give an extension to this suspension, then you need to come into some agreement, an arrangement with the contractor. If the contractor says yes, then please let it be known that these are the costs that are attributed to this suspension. I believe it has to be amicable agreement between both parties, and it has to be appended to the contract. Anything that has to be done in terms of suspension. It's not that it can't be done, but it just depends on what both parties agree.
Thank you very much. There is a question from Santosh here. Santosh Kumar. Hi. How do we resolve an issue where contractor has a cost overrun due to various additional requirements of clients? Contractor has issued a claim with open book policy of audited statements of accounts. Will the claim be compensable?
Well, the claim has to be analyzed and reviewed. The mere fact that the contractor submitted a claim doesn't mean to say it is tenable and it is acceptable. As we know, most of contractors in the Middle East always want to recover their losses through claims. It's not a hidden fact. So part of our assignment as the contracts team, contracts administrator, quantity surveyors, commercial team, whatever, is to assess this claim. The claim needs to be assessed in line with the contract. Has the contractor, for instance, did he submit a notice of claim to the client in the first place for the claim someone is making a claim for? You can't just come out with a claim out of the blue. Now, if those claims have been notified to the client and have not been dealt with, and then there's a suspension, then that's an entire different matter, because then the client has an obligation to make sure that these claims are assessed, and he has to get back to the contractor on his assessment. Again, that falls within the remits of the engineer. We have issues where the claims are submitted and the clients just sit on it for endless days, saying nothing. At every point of time, the client has to give a reason why he's not responding, or if he doesn't, or if he's going to respond, on what basis he's responding. If he's assessing the claim, he needs to give the contractor an idea of what's happening. You can't just make a conclusion that you're not going to say anything. Not saying anything will not exclude him from his obligations and from having to pay the contractor for any consequences that have been that have come out of that claim.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dele Oyekomi, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, our attendees, for being present. In the next 2 or 3 minutes, we'll call upon the chairman of the Nigerian Council of Surveyors, Qatar, to round off the discussion. Please make sure you unmute yourself first.
No, Jane, I want to imagine that is
It's for me, right? No, do you there? Okay. In absence of no any other question, it is a privilege, an opportunity for me to, first and foremost, on behalf of Nigeria Quantity Surveyor, Qatar, thank our presenter today, Mr. Dele Oyekomi, for this wonderful presentation. For quite a long time, since March, we'll be hoping for this presentation to come on board. But finally, here we are today, and we're very grateful that all the information we received today. Please, thank you. It is with great joy and all what we have received today. In fact, to me, this is a very great eye-opener to me on some of the things I have heard today. And we are very grateful that it will go a long way in keeping us, giving us the edge as members of the profession of quantity survey and other allied cost professionals that are here today. So we are really very grateful on behalf of the Nigerian Quantity Surveyor Qatar. And on behalf of the organizers, on behalf of them, we thank those of you that have taken time to join us. And I, on behalf of everybody, we want to thank the organizers and those who have put all of these matters, all this documentation together and the invite together for this. And we hope to see you guys very soon via another webinar. Thank you so much, and God bless you all for your time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. Boss, I will call you. We'll discuss later. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'll send you the video also. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So much.
Bye-bye.
So, no, we do the needful. Divide the slide and the video. This is quite a rewarding presentation. So thanks. So guys, guys can just leave by just clicking on your this thing, and you just click on the phone, the red line there, and you are off. Thank you all.
Why did you want to call in the meeting? Ọ̀gá mi ẹ ti pẹ́ dé o.